The Yale Lions. The officials for the semifinal matchup got three going down to Dimitro Munnett and Brent Martindale.
And we are set for our final game of the evening here in a Super Final Four Friday, the 6th game in a row here at South Court. The Seaquam Seahawks set to face the Yale Lions. The Lions have been real familiar with Final Fours. I think they've been to 3 of the last 4, if I'm not mistaken. Seaquam Seahawks, what a season they've had. And Cheryl Jean-Paul, thanks for joining us once more. And this is a very interesting matchup.
There's a lot of experience. Is that a little bit better there?
I can hear you a little bit better. Yeah, make sure that is close as you can get the mic as we get set, and we'll hear from Coach as the broadcast continues. The Yale Lions off the opening tip, coached by Bobby Brach. A steal there for Seaquam. And right down the floor, they go to Cameron Tate underneath and Neelam Sidhu, and they'll lay it up and in to get the scoring underway here in a loud and raucous South Court.
Yeah, if you look at the difference between the last 2 games and these 2, size is going to play a factor. Inside touches, you look at Seaquam that's got some forwards and some perimeter players that can not only knock down outside shots but also get that inside touch. And we'll see how Yale has handled. Obviously, they defeated Argyle yesterday in a great game with one of the best posts in our province right now, Natalie Francis. So they're not afraid of playing the bigs.
That's a great point to make. Here's Cameron Tate gliding in, unable to score, and Yale very quickly down the floor. You referenced the win over number 2 seeded Argyle yesterday. A big-time win for the Yale program. Yale built up a big lead and almost gave it back to Argyle, who were one of the favorites here, obviously with that high seeding, unable to get past the quarterfinal round.
The fans are having a little chat with Christina Brown. You don't want to get on the bad side of Christina Brown here, so we're hoping that the fans keep their objects on their side of the floor.
They've been pretty respectful throughout from all the visiting schools here. It's been a great day of basketball, and Yale here now with the basketball. Carnahan, number 5.
We talked about this in the last game, but so important to get some of those early touches, whether they go in or not. But establishing your style of play, and that's a great early corner 3 for Yale.
Yeah, Carnahan with the 3 from the baseline corner. So the Lions now with a 3-2 lead, knifing through the paint Cameron Tate, and we called her in December at the TBI here, where they actually went to the final when she was named the MVP. And I know that was a real kind of a breakthrough tournament for her, and she has just continued to get better.
Well, you know, just the versatility of someone that can play with length and size, but just also, you know, the ability to change directions really well. So, you know, not often seen with someone with a little bit of length at her age, but just doing a lot of really good things for being one of the younger players in this tournament.
Cameron Tate, the 6'1", grade 10. A fantastic feature in the game. Of course, her dad, Brian Tate, was a standout guard with the Richmond Colts, won a couple of BC top-tier AAA tournaments in the late 80s. Ava Hepner, strong move inside, will draw the contact, and Ava Hepner, a tower of power, 5'9", but really gets to where she wants to get to on the basketball court.
You know, yesterday, some of these teams had some great physical battles that they had to get through in order to get to this point. So, you know, the big factor is going to be, can they keep themselves on the floor instead of getting into foul trouble today? And, you know, both these teams can play with structure, but they can play with speed. So it's going to be interesting how the coaches pull out the right parts of their game at the right time.
And you know what? It is loud in this building. The volume level much louder than our last contest. A lot of garbage cans and a lot of enthusiastic students, but you're right about that. Oh, and a turnover at half court. And that's Ella Bond getting to the basket. Ella Bond, Kendall Dewitt, Maeve Carnahan, Hannah Singh, and Ava Hepner, the starting five here for Yale. Hepner. Great cut to the basket there. Nice hoop for Yale, and that's from Carnahan. She hit the three, now she goes to the rim.
You know, just sending multiple cutters into the key. They're finding and like just looking at these little things that Seaquam is going to be able to handle. So it'll be interesting as the coaches need to make adjustments, how that's going to play out for the span of not just this quarter, but the rest of the game as well.
Callie Brost able to knock down the three there, so Seaquam pulls to within one now, can take the lead here. That pass from Syra Tour. Yale getting back up the floor. The travel is called, and Kendall Dewitt a little shocked, or the look anyway she gave the official there, but it turns over.
Yeah, it's the travel before the travel that gets you into trouble.
Coming up the floor right now is one half of the Tour sisters. Their number 2 is Syra, and number 8 is Priya Tour. And look at Priya getting on the deck there, trying to save that basketball. Seaquam players all up to salute her effort on the floor.
You know, with a great semifinal matchup of two local Lower Mainland teams, you know, being able to get a lot of your fan base here for these games is always a lot of fun. I don't think the game is being sponsored by Home Depot, but you'd be surprised with the number of orange buckets that we're seeing being banged at this point.
Yeah, they may have bought out the supply at the local Home Depot, and they are perfect for in-gymnasium use. Here's Tate. Spin move in the key, gets her the contact and the trip to the free throw line.
Yeah, it's really tricky trying to stop that move of hers because she uses her length really well to shield the ball until her last little spin move. So as the help side defender, they really have to try to prevent her from turning instead of trying to reach for the ball by the time she gets there. So we'll see if Yale figures that out in terms of how to defend her a little bit better.
Well, she makes the first and she ties this game, and there's a great atmosphere in the building tonight with a berth to the BC Championships on the line to face the defending champions, the Riverside Rapids. Tate makes them both, and Seaquam now with a 1-point lead. Here's Maeve Carnahan. Yale unable to find any success there. Tate again, this time she'll dish. And she'll go to Syra Tour. Back to Priya, into Roufosse, the post.
see them get an early touch. Sydney, steps onto the floor, and within the first possession, they're getting an inside position touch by her. And again, she doesn't get that scoring look, but that's one more foul. One more foul closer to shooting free throws, and we haven't seen a ton of that on a lot of the teams, the ability to establish an inside presence.
We'll see how that works out as Kumar gets called for the foul, her first of the game. Here's Roufosse. Ross. Roufosse with the offensive rebound, the second one. And establishes position, the end one, and she is loving life in the paint.
Yeah, Sydney is the epitome of an energy giver. She comes onto the floor and instantly there's been an impact. She's able to get an inside touch, she gets fouled, now she gets an offensive putback, she gets another offensive putback, she's going to the free throw line, she makes that free throw. Yale's going to have a game plan for how they're going to manage her minutes.
Roufosse doing a good job there and matched up against number 15, Sloan Mason. 5'9", 10 post player, but stolen away. Priya Tour. She's going to get it to go, and right now Seaquam firing on all cylinders, turning defense into offense. Here's Ella Bond. Kendall Dewitt. Mackenzie Henderson will now check in for Syra Tour, and she's a three-point shooter. At our TBI tournament in December, just lit it up. Vaughn. Back to Dewitt. Yale's, everything's under duress for them right now. That shot right there by Maeve Carnahan.
Well, again, Seaquam's doing a great job of staying home. They're not flying out at some of the typical fakes or scoring looks that Yale maybe has used to, or even some of the looks that they got yesterday. So sometimes when you get into the second game, you have to make adjustments faster. It's not about what happened yesterday and what you got yesterday. It's about what you're getting today. And so, again, it's a great take, straight down the middle. They didn't have to do too much work to get that one, and so maybe it's the simpler solution for Yale today.
So we saw Carnahan score. Right before that, we saw Henderson give it up underneath to Roufosse for a nice basket. 15-9 Seahawks. Priya Tour takes the three. And a battle underneath. Dewitt battling with Roufosse. Oh my goodness. A jump ball called, and the possession arrow will favor the Yale Lions.
One of the things about being in a gym with this type of noise is how does that impact the athletes in terms of their communication to the bench, their communication to each other, shot clock management. There's so many factors that come to play. We kind of talked about those controllables, and this was maybe one of those factors that they didn't experience earlier in the year in this tournament, where now all of a sudden now you're talking about all those added elements to this game.
Yeah, it is loud in this gym tonight. The South Court reverberating. Multiple drum kits being pounded on by the fans here as Ella Bond heads to the free throw line. The Yale boys last week winning the Fraser Valley East Quad A, so they are qualified for the big dance next week. The Yale girls right now looking to go to the championship game. A great year for Lions basketball.
They put a lot of time into their program development, and it's great to see when a school is being able to do that on the girls and the boys side. Oftentimes we see kind of a deficit between certain schools where they have a great girls program, but not really on the guys side, or they have a great guys program, but not on the girls side. So that's why you tend to get a ton of support from both teams.
Great
because,
point.
They're in the gym in the mornings. They're getting shots up together. That's kind of when they're playing one-on-one at lunch break and all those different kind of things. And it's great to see students supporting each other, probably because they put a lot of work in the mornings, so they really are kind of experiencing some of these things together as an entire kind of senior or junior team.
It makes me want to be in grade 12 again. Here's Tate, like a receiver trying to turn her head and find where the ball is coming from, unable to pull that one in.
But I think, a great early push to Cameron, establishing the fact that she can get up the floor a little bit quickly. They didn't actually lose possession of the basketball in that sense. So, I think those are some of the looks that you want to try to get as early as possible to see, can they stop her in the full court? We know that she's gone to the free throw line on some of her individual scoring looks, and now, they're turning the heat up on their defensive pressure.
Kelly Brost, exactly what coach is telling you. Goes right to the basket to lay it up and in. Bobby Brazier has got a call for time, and the Yale Lions can't make up any ground here on Seaquam. The Seahawks are really a complete team, and they're a unique group too. I mean, when you look at their depth, not that they're the Riverside Rapids and not that Riverside Seaquam, but there's unique players that they're bringing into the game that do certain things really well too. Like Mackenzie Henderson is a great three-point shooter. You're talking about Roufosse not starting. Neelam Sidhu, who started and scored the first basket, has barely played in this game. So there's a lot of depth here.
Well, and again, it's the coaches looking at the type of situation that they're in and saying, what do we need right now? What tool is going to fix either the concern or the issue? And so, they established inside. Now they know that that's going to work. They come in. We haven't really seen a ton of outside shots yet, but we know based on what we've seen is that they push, they look inside first, they start establishing defense, having to chase them into the key, and now the awesome shots. So I'm sure we're going to see a few more shots fly, I'm sure, as the game continues, but it's about establishing those consistent looks that they're going to need throughout this game. Seahawks
will come out with Roufosse, Priateur, Mackenzie Henderson, Callie Brost, and Cameron Tate.
I'm sure in that timeout, coach is just telling, as Yale athletes, just relax, guys. Like we can get some good scoring looks, but we can't turn over the ball the way that we have been. And again, we looked at that last game with 17 turnovers in the first half. That ended up playing a huge factor in their ability to not get back into this game. So we'll see if Yale can just make sure that first entry pass, that first attack is a little bit cleaner, and then they're going to get some great scoring looks after that. Ella
Bond in heavy traffic following the Callie Brost little shot off her hip. She scores a nice easy basket, lost them down the floor. Tour to Henderson. Roufosse one-on-one with a mismatch underneath. Ava Hepner forced to come in. You don't want Ava Hepner picking up fouls, but came in there to help her teammate number 10, Asia Kumar.
Yeah, that's definitely the type of matchup that Sydney wants to exploit, and you hear coach saying get the ball inside, and it's great, the team responds to the mismatch, and again, doesn't make the basket, but it's at the free throw line, and like you said, now potentially there's someone on the other team who has to play a critical role that may not be on the floor as much as she'd like to be.
Well, Neelam Sidhu, number 15, we just mentioned her name, is going to check in. She started, scored instantly, and Roufosse comes out, so a different look now for the Seaquam Seahawks. Hepner, Jewett, Hannah Singh now with the basketball, as well as Kumar on the floor right now for the Lions. Hepner as well. Turnaround shot rolls off the rim, and a jump ball called, and it will go in favor of the Seahawks this time.
Talked about high-scoring first quarter in that last game where it was, 29 points for Riverside in the first 10 minutes, and Seaquam is showing that they might have some firepower of their own.
Shot on the baseline there. I think that was Brost again. She's finding ways to quietly put some points on the board.
Her length is quite deceptive, but she finds her way around and through defenders to be able to get that soft touch at the rim. So this is a great sign. They're showing multiple different looks, multiple different players scoring, and so it's not necessarily necessarily, and that's what Seaquam does so well. It's not on any one player's role. Their whole team has to contribute to a successful, but again, that can also be the challenge when things are not going well. Who's the person who's supposed to step up? So we'll see kind of how they handle some of this. Obviously,
that really describes the Riverside Seaquam game, the final at TBI, where Cameron Tate turned it on late when they kind of needed her, and she was named the MVP. So.
And now there's expectation, you know, in terms of, you know, maybe that you were with the younger athlete before playing against the older athletes, and now, you know, at this point in the season, everyone is here at a provincial championship. We're not spending as much time talking about youthfulness anymore because they've had a whole year of senior basketball if this is new for them, and now it's just about the best team at this point in the season.
The Lions find some success at the free throw line, 22-11, doubled on the scoreboard right now by the Seahawks with 92 seconds left in the quarter.
We talked about whether fouls is going to be a factor in today's game. Both teams are going to be in bonus for this last stretch, and we'll see if it actually plays a factor, or they're just going to try to get some good scoreless without drawing too much contact. Here's
Bra. She loves the runner. She just pulls that little floater out of her pocket. 24-11.
You know, the defender is waiting for the big contact at the end, and she just finds that sweet little spot right in front of the charge. It's a great finish, but it's also quite difficult to defend because the defender's going to have to decide whether they step into it or not.
We talked about Sydney Roufosse as an energy player. You can hear her as an energy player as well, even above this incredible loud gym we're in.
Let's go!
You got that one.
You know, oftentimes we look at some of these games where there's very few seniors, and the pressure that they're not feeling is this is our last shot at it. So sometimes you have that, you know, for better or for worse, they have no idea what they're doing. So there's not this expectation of this is their last shot at it. So sometimes that sense of freedom allows them to take some risks that maybe some of the older teams aren't willing to take.
Duick with a shot. She banks home the three. Down to 36 seconds remaining in the quarter.
You know, Yale just needs to get a solid stop here. They'll still get a possession of the ball depending on what happens on the offensive rebound if there's a miss.
Neelam Sidhu with an offensive rebound. Tate as well underneath. Oh, that's, excuse me, number 12 is Iria Extaraga. I know I pronounced that incorrectly, but I apologize. Down to 4 seconds, Sidhu with the basketball. Puts it up. They get called for the travel with 0.6 seconds remaining.
Yale's really going to have to talk about their ability to either defensive rebound, box out, or just chase after loose basketballs on that last play. They gave up 2-3 kind of opportunities for Seaquam to get that final score, and now you've been doubled up. So again, little things like pursuing the basketball. I thought they did a great job of attacking those things yesterday. It's just going back to let's remember how we got here.
Very quickly from Hefner to Duick, and that's going to do it for the first quarter. 28-14 is the score. Seaquam, that's all. You said it for Riverside after the first quarter or whatever. That's a lot of points in the first quarter for them.
Well, they're getting the shots that they want. They've had some outside shots. They've had some inside looks. They've gone to the free throw line multiple times. You know, Yale is struggling to find the type of shots that they think they're going to get. They have one or two really good rim attacks, and they can't get back to that shot. So they're again going to have to find the fact that there's going to be 2 or 3 different looks that they're going to have to get over the span of 3 or 4 or 5 possessions instead of trying to get the same look over and over again. So, you know, we'll see. They'll regroup. They'll be back. They'll be ready to go in the second quarter. And again, like 14 points for a team that can knock down multiple threes. It's not a big gap, but if those threes are missed and then you're not coming back at that with a defensive stop, then all of a sudden a 14th lead can become a 20-point lead very quickly. So it really is about those first 3 or 4 possessions of the second quarter.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch that from that perspective. And Yeah, of course, we all know the stakes here. The berth in the championship final is on the line to meet the Riverside Rapids, who look so impressive, and Avery Sussex had a huge game. She draws a crowd. I was in that little lunchroom there, and there's about 7 or 8 videographers, a lot of young, the new wave of journalists, how they cover basketball, and they're all talking about Avery Sussex and how she just commands an aura out there.
Well, you know, I love where the women's game is going. We talk about WNBA players a lot more now on social media, and I love the coverage that NCAA stars are getting. Caitlin Clark is a prime example of that. And you know what? They deserve what they're getting in terms of just great basketball players. We're not talking necessarily about women's basketball players. We're talking about great basketball players, and that's why this is fun. Avery is getting the credit that she's getting because of the time that she's put in, because she's a great basketball player, not just because she's a great girls basketball player, which we need to keep celebrating that.
I agree completely. I just love her game, and it's funny, when we wrote a story about her, her coach was comparing her to a guy he used to coach. That was his comparable. He just looks at everybody as a basketball player, which I could appreciate, and that's good to see. But Caitlin Clark, wow, seeing primetime women's college basketball games is a neat thing.
When you talk about how competitive she is, even within herself, she's at that point in her career where she's not thinking about looking at what other people are doing. She knows the standard that she set for herself. So, you know, when you're talking about a senior team that's coming into a provincial final, you want that group to be driven by someone who has a greater purpose. She's here to set the stage.
Isn't that awesome? What a great way to frame that, and we can't, that's how I feel, but couldn't put it into words, and I'm the writer, so thanks, Coach. I appreciate that. You get a great feeling on championship night, like about 10 minutes before the thing starts, I start to get some palpitations. It's a fun time of the year, so I know we're going to see a great crowd out tomorrow at center court for the final of 4A.
Well, I think oftentimes we do spend a lot of times talking about the players who are going to be going on from this place and playing, you know, in bigger stages than the one they have, but there's also those players where this will be the biggest stage for their basketball careers, and we also want to spend some time celebrating that. Those grade 12 seniors, that this is a great moment for them. You know, maybe some of them are pursuing other sports or they're pursuing academics. So this is a great moment for so many people for different reasons.
Yeah, it's going to be terrific tomorrow, but what a great Friday it's been. In our final game here, Seaquam and Yale battling for that last spot to the Provincials. Sydney Roufosse comes charging off the bench. She'll come into the game here for Seaquam. Cameron Tate will take a breather.
Both teams are a little bit off right now. They're trying to settle into the second quarter, so I mean a minute and a half to change. The score hasn't changed, so we'll see who kind of gets the first points of this quarter.
Syra Tour, Neelam Sidhu. Syra jumps on a loose ball. Look for Neelam, but right into the hands of Duick.
Yale dropped into a zone there, maybe just to throw off some of the scoring looks that Seaquam was getting early in that first quarter. And again, they've done a great job. Seaquam hasn't scored in almost 2 minutes, but they're going to have to generate something from those defensive stops.
Yeah, it came to fruition, as you said, those important couple of minutes there. Jumping in the passing lane there and knocking the ball out of bounds. Hannah Singh of the Lions. Heading into this quarter, Callie Brost leading the Seaquam team with a game-high 11 points. And Callie Brost, 4 of 6 from the field. 8 points for Sydney Roufosse. Yale led by the 6 of Kendall Duick.
So now again, you know, Yale's had 2 or 3 defensive series where they've done a pretty good job of slowing the roll of Seaquam, but what can they generate on offense?
Henderson checking out and Bross back in.
I was going to say Seaquam has gone to a lineup that potentially can generate a little bit more offense, maybe from a defensive perspective, going with a little bit of length with, you know, both Neelam and Sydney on the floor at the same time, which we didn't see in the first quarter. So we'll see if this lineup can generate some things offensively from a defensive stop perspective into the inside looks that they're going for, especially for Sydney.
Roufosse comes right back down the floor. Roufosse banging underneath.
Talked about that floater from Cali before, and they found a defensive stop, but similar to the game that we just witnessed, that second chance opportunity is so critical.
Yeah.
that was a half stop that didn't pay off. So.
Oh my goodness. And they can bring her off the bench. Roufosse right now playing in tandem with Neelam on the floor. They had just subbed out for each other a few minutes ago. They're out there with the Tour sisters and Callie Bross. Air ball there. Quickly down the floor. Too much mustard there for the Yale Lions and Ella Bond.
Yeah, but against this lineup, again, Yale now understands that they're going to have to push the tempo against this longer. If this just settles into a half-court matchup, that's not one that's going to go their way. So yes, that was a turnover, but I love the fact that they recognize we have to beat this lineup up the floor.
And we'll keep our eyes on that as well if they can get a stop here. 6:44 to the half here. Roufosse. Syra, high, arcing three is going to fall. And I am emphasizing Syra because Coach Lucky came up and said,
it's not
I'm
Syra.
always pronouncing the name wrong. He's getting the complaint from his daughter. But you know what? You got to get names right. No shame.
Yeah.
Tell the announcer,
Yep.
I want to do it right.
Well, and again, you know, you're playing against a longer lineup, so you're really focused on the inside, collapsing up on the bigs, just to give up a big three by Syra. So Seaquam's like, you know what? We have a problem. Solve her. And back-to-back threes. So are you sure that's how you want to defend us at this point? So, you know, what a great response to, you know, again, we talked about that chess match of one team goes a little bit bigger, the other team decides to go a little bit longer. They decide to go into a zone to kind of combat some of the things that have been happening earlier. And then you have Syra that comes in and hits back-to-back threes. So what's your next solve for the problem that you're facing right now? That
is the highest arcing three I've seen since the early turn of the century. Jane Meadwell from Chilliwack used to shoot one like that. That is a ton of art. Here's Neelam on the baseline. Met on the way to the basket by Yale's Sloan Mason.
Sometimes you wonder how much the previous game has taken out a team's ability to fight the next night. And, you know, Yale looks fatigued right now. You know, they had a physical battle in yesterday's game, and, you know, it's exciting to be in a semifinal today. But right now they haven't necessarily had that push that I've seen them have in the past. So we'll see if, you know, just again, trying to find 2 or 3 good scoring looks to finish this, you know, the second half of the second quarter, but they're going to have to find a way to do the job on defense first.
Sidhu at the free throw line hits the first. Seaquam at every point now their largest lead of the game. They are leading by a bundle here, 21 points. Tate with a miss underneath. Roufosse. Oh, and Mason's going to get called for the foul underneath. And Sydney, look at the enthusiasm as she steps up to the line.
There's this challenge for Yale to finish the sequence that they're in. They know that they're in a hole, you know, offensively, and so you can see the players trying to leak out to get out there early. But when you have both, you know, Sydney Roufosse and Cameron Tate rebounding, you're going to have to stay committed to getting that defensive rebound before you take off.
Roufosse makes the second. This one not going the way Coach Breach and company had hoped, and I think a great point by Coach that Argyle game, a lot of emotion facing that #2 ranked team in the Argyle Pipers. See if Yale can rediscover the mojo here. A turnover, Neelam Sidhu displaced to the ball by Hepner. Quickly they go, and Bond, a great look at the three. She's going to follow or miss. Ella inside, taken away by Sidhu. Neelam on the baseline. Mackenzie Henderson now checking in for Seaquam. Neelam Sidhu will take a break. And this Yale Lions team under Coach Breach will take a timeout. And we'll take a short one here, rest the vocal pipes, and be back for the final 5 minutes of the second half in just a moment.
Fans, don't forget to stay up to date with all the tournament news at BCFHighSchoolBasketballChampionships.com. Follow us on X at BC4A Girls Football for all the latest news and information.
Howard Smurf, Cheryl Jean-Paul, back with you at the Langley Event Center. 4:48 remaining in the second quarter here, the second Quad A semifinal of the day. Seaquam with the lead and the basketball. Cameron Tate. And off to Callie Bross, who's had a great offensive half. Roufosse facing the basket from 15 feet, knocks it down. Look at the expression. Oh, unlucky there for Ella Bond. Here's Tate weaving. Bond gets a hand up, tries to get a block, and is going to get called for the foul. Everything's going Siakam's way.
You know, Sydney, there's so many different things that she brings. We talk about the energy, but if she's starting to knock down that high post jumper, Yale's going to have to figure out some other things. And again, like just their ability to defend certain aspects of what Siakam can do. So, you know, they're trying to fix the previous problem, and then Siakam is just giving them a new one. So we'll see. You're going to have to be a step ahead instead of 2 steps behind, especially with the deficit that they're facing right now.
That's a great way to put it. I'm not writing the story from this game, but if I was, I'd use that. That's beautiful. On the deck, the Lions recover though with Hepner. Quickly to the corner. Boy, turnover after turnover, and the key to break here, they go to Henderson. She's going to lay it up and in. Seaquam is flexing its collective muscle here. They are getting stops, generating turnovers. And they're red hot on the offensive end, and they hit another one, and that's going to be Henderson.
Wow. I mean, this is an offensive onslaught here from Seaquam, and again, like, just all the little things are going their way right now. Like, they're feeling some great shots, but it's fueled by the fact that Yale's going straight into their length defensively, not getting the fouls that they're hoping to, and then really not doing a great job of stopping them on the way back.
Cameron Tate, everything coming in transition right now.
You know, coach is out of timeouts now, and so who's going to be the leader on the floor for this Yale team? Someone's going to have to step up. Hopefully, we talked about that in the previous game. At some point, you start looking up at the score and say, okay, what's the game plan? What are we working towards here?
Wow, they are just in absolute command of this game. Yale is turning the ball over seemingly every time down the floor. It's Priya Tour now. Number 8 for the Seahawks. Tate drives, dishes to Roufosse. Henderson dribbles to an open spot, had a good look at it. Carnahan in transition, finding teammate Singh, but they can't get anything going right now.
Yeah, we're starting to see signs of those frustration fouls. You know, they're going hard to their end, trying to get a scoring look. Don't get the call that they want, and then within 2 seconds, picking up that foul. So, you know, there's some frustrations there. You know, obviously, you know, it's not going their way when it comes to some of the finishes, but then don't double up on...
Compound it, yeah.
Yeah, compound the issue.
Tour to Neelam Sidhu. Jump ball called here. It's going to be Yale basketball. Seahawks will call for time. Right now, a commanding lead here for Seaquam. And as we talked to the Seaquam coaches, coach before the game and asked Lucky Tour, have you played them before? They went to the top 10 tournament. I think it was hosted actually by G.W. Graham this year in January, and Yale beat them by 20. And that was, I'm trying to think now, that would be about a month after the TBI. And I don't know that there were any players missing. I don't think so. But Seaquam did go through a bit of a dip in the new year.
Well, you know, we've seen every team almost beat every other team at some point in time, depending on when they saw each other or what other factors were going on. But, you know, it's the beauty of high school sport where, you know, you talk to a coach and who do you not want to play? The team that you've beaten 3 times already, right? So you're kind of looking at they haven't experienced this against this opponent, so how do they respond now? Are they going back to remember last time that we played them, or are they going to this is what's happening in today's game? And so you want to have short-term memory for certain things and long-term memory for others, but at this point we got to be in short-term memory. What we're doing right now that's working, let's get back to that today.
Yeah, this Seahawk team, that one, the one that is now leading by 32 points. A stunning development here in the first half from a Yale team. Battling hard, but just unable. Another turnover. That must be 6 or 7 straight trips down the floor. Well, Seaquam does the same here as we get to under 2 minutes remaining. Carnahan. Frost will kick it back. Ripped away, though, by the Lions. Carnahan with the steal. Slow it up.
Well, right now, Yale's playing when all else fails, just play faster, and I'm not sure if that's exactly the right game plan for how Seaquam is just able to kind of find their way and really challenge all of their scoring looks. So again, their frustrations are starting to mount. They need to find a different way to score to be able to get points to the basket, not just by hoping that the ref makes the call for some of these contact takes.
That was Duick who was unable to score for Yale. Neelam in the post. Sidhu, turnaround move. Oh, shoots it under the goal, unfortunately. And ball now back to Yale. We're 1 minute remaining in this opening half of play. Yale just sneaked it. How many points have they scored in this? Oh my goodness.
You know, what's more impressive, Seaquam scoring almost 50 points and a half, or the fact that they've held Yale to 16. So, you know, they're getting it done on both sides, which is a great way of making a statement to your team that we can rely on both sides of the ball to get us to where we want to go.
That's exactly true, and 20-2 is the actual run here in this second quarter.
And it's tough as a coach. You know, he needed to call some timeouts to stop the bleeding early and hasn't really been able to stop the clock for the last 3 minutes. And so you're just hoping that your athletes can find a way to generate energy on their own, but it really has not happened in this game so far for Yale.
Isn't that something? Yale with 1 bucket. Here's Bross with a steal. Down to 7 seconds. Callie's going to take it in. She's going to get the ball, kick it back up top to Henderson with 1.8. And that shot will not fall for the Yale Lions, who, boy, this is a tough one. You've come off that huge win over Argyle, as you said. They beat the number 2 seed. They beat the top team on their side of the draw yesterday. And it has to have taken some toll emotionally on them today.
Well, there's so many different factors. You know, when we talk about ranking, sometimes ranking is only a number. At the end of the day, so many of these teams, you know, if you had won that game instead of this game, you would have earned this instead of that. And that last tournament that you guys lost when you should have won you know, there's obviously like so much that goes into seeding for these tournaments. So legitimately, they're here because they won basketball games regardless of their seeding. But as soon as you get into the next game, your seeding doesn't matter anymore. So now they're here as one of the Final Four teams, not as the 7th seed, not as the team that upset the number 2 seed. They're one of the Final Four teams, and right now Yale is not playing like a Final Four team. So again, coach needs to regroup this team. Maybe he comes in with fire, maybe he slows them down. Like he knows his team at this point in the season what they need to hear to be able to find their way. We looked at that previous game, and even though Riverside kind of won that game, Oakham finished on a good quarter. So their goal is now to use that momentum
stand up.
Look,
I'll celebrate. Everyone scream next up, but I'm the #1 candidate. Captures on, and I'm making key plays. When I'm doing shows, gotta get all prepaid. 14 flavors, I'm on a tea break. No side, no about these ways. I gotta let my skin fade marinate. We gotta toast up, celebrate. Everyone scream next up, but I'm the #1
Just
candidate.
really quickly before we take a break here, 13 points for Sydney Roufosse, 11 for Callie Bross to lead the Seahawks in that opening half. Yale's leading scorer is 6 points from Kendall Dewick. So, boy, it was definitely a definitive second quarter of play in the Seaquam Seahawks with a huge lead.
Well, and if you're the Yale team and you're thinking about, okay, having to stop, you know, what Cameron Tate does at the rim and making sure that you're defending the three-point shooters and can't let Syra and then your leading scorer is Sydney Roufosse. You know, again, like having all of these weapons, which ones are you going to pick and choose your battles? And they're going to have to kind of regroup in terms of who is hurting us the most right now.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about Sydney has 4 offensive rebounds right now. They're scoring kind of off of the turnovers. So, you know, even though you look at the turnover numbers, they're pretty much the same. The reality is Seaquam scored 18 points off those turnovers. So every turnover is costing you a point if they can take care of the basketball and again, find their way a little bit. Like if you look at their three-point shooting right now, 2 for 10, but every shot has felt rushed. So just trying to get back to some better spacing, the drives, draw the length in, kick the ball back out, take a good scoring look, and see if that can generate some good looks.
Well, Seaquam certainly accomplished what they wanted to make a statement in the first half. We'll see what happens in the second. We'll take a break here, 7 minutes, and we'll be back for the final half of the day here on Final Four Friday from the Langley Event Center. And we're back with you here at the Langley Event Center in the countdown to the final game, final half of our day, 48-16. Yale with the basketball in a big mountain to climb here. Howard Samura along with Cheryl Jean-Paul. Thanks for joining us on the network here tonight. Wherever you may be watching on the World Wide Web, Seaquam with a 48-16 lead.
Well, again, we talked about, you know, maybe at this point the victory is not actually win the game, but maybe it's about reestablishing who we are. And I think Yale really lost their identity in that first half. And you know, Seaquam got some great scoring looks from multiple different sources. So now it's about, you know, getting and settling back into this game for them. Get a few good scoring looks, get a great few stops, get your transition looks that you're trying to create, but find a way to get back into this game.
And it was a damaging second quarter for Yale, who only scored 2 points in the entire quarter. Yale right now shooting 5 of 33. Is that correct? 5 of 33 overall from the field. I guess that would be there. 4 of 6 from the free throw line. And they've gotten, I think, 1 or 2 threes in there. So that is a tough pill to swallow. Here comes Kendall Dewick. She kicks it back up top. 3 ball would be huge if it went, and it doesn't. And that was Asia Kumar. Ross drives and dishes. Tate, drive and kick back out. The Priya Tour. Tate scrambles again, this time to Syra on the other side, or Syra, excuse me. And Tate picks up the garbage. 50-16.
You know, Yale takes that outside shot, and again, it doesn't go in, but you know, much better scoring look than some of the looks that they were trying to get in the first half. So the problem again is you give 3 separate opportunities for Seaquam to miss a shot. They're going to make one of those at some point in time. So, you know, for Yale, some of their challenges are also going to be reestablishing who they need to be on defense to be able to at least manage 2 or 3 of the things that Seaquam's doing well.
Seaquam starting with the Tour sisters, Tate, Callie Brost, and in the middle, Sydney Roufosse. Bon Duick, as well as Hannah Singh, number 9. Number 5 out there is Maeve Carnahan, or Maeva Carnahan, excuse me. Roufosse knocking down the face-up jumpers, double-figure score in the first half. Ross drives, gets it back. Syra, high arcing 3 again. Roufosse spinning off the rebound, can't get it to go. Keeps the motor going.
Well, again, third time's the charm for Seaquam right now, and again, they're getting multiple opportunities to get some of those scoring looks, and you know, Yale's going to have to battle a little bit harder to give up that offensive rebound, especially.
Carnahan shot off the mark there. Tour again.
2.
And look at Roufosse continuing to run hard and chase that down. Both she and number 14, Janelle Braun, chasing that basketball. Braun heads off, now back into the game. Sloan Mason, number 15.
You know, it's interesting that Seaquam played with a lot of tempo in that first half, and you can see they're slowing down just a little bit, but that's also kind of
preservation.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and you know what, at some point, if you're playing a Riverside, chances are you're not getting run and gun scoring looks, so you're going to have to, again, handle the full court pressure that Riverside shows and then execute well in offense. You can see coach is not in this game anymore. Like, obviously, they still need to get the job done today, but there's also that game management of what we're getting ready for.
So were you then surprised that Avery Sussex played as much as she played with the game in hand?
I think you've mentioned this before. I'd love to see her coach trying to get her off the floor in game situations like that. So, you know, I mean,
Come on,
again,
who's in charge here?
you know, when you look at what an athlete has done for your program at those times, there has to be a level of trust of,
Yeah.
you know, I know where to take my breaks and I'm ready for this and let's go. I want to make sure that I'm ready to play a 40-minute game tomorrow, and you know, different people do that differently. So, you know, one of the reasons why some of these teams have the type of games that they had earlier in the tournament, that's when those top players were taking their breaks. We're in the semifinal now. Now you want to be on the floor.
Neelam Sidhu with a nice block underneath the basket. Yale maintains possession. Mason, a spin move there on Priya Tour. I'm trying to think when the last time a North Delta-based girls team played in a BC junior or BC senior varsity basketball final. And you know what, Coach? I don't think it is happened since the North Delta Huskies went, and maybe last when they won it. I mean, we're talking 40 years maybe.
Well, you know, we've been watching this team develop over the last few years, and that's one thing I think is great when you see a team that's had success at the grade 8, grade 9 level.
Yeah.
And, you know, bring up some younger ones last year. They take their hits a little bit, and now here they are, you know, well on their way to making a provincial final tomorrow. So
isn't that something?
it's a work in progress, and you can see, you know, the level of development that some of these players, in terms of some things that they couldn't do last year to this year, even some of the things that they weren't doing well at Christmas time, now into, you know, postseason, and just that level of confidence. We talked about, you know, Cami Tate having kind of a breakout game a few months ago, and now there's, you know, a calmness and a steadiness that, I mean, she always kind of has the stoic face to her, but just the confidence in knowing what she can do when she gets onto the floor. And if you look at how this game started, it was her inside, weaving her way around, getting to the free throw line. That's how they started this game. So just finding different ways to get the looks that they need to get them going, and obviously they've been going. So.
And that adaptability certainly bodes well. Like, I mean, should they get through this test here and face Riverside, I mean, that's going to be one heck of a basketball game.
Well, you look at, you know, the defensive schemes that Riverside shows, and they're going to have to find a way to figure out how to get the ball over the half-court line so that they can take advantage of their size. So it's going to be styles of play for sure. So we think about the style of play, Seaquam, style of play, Riverside. You know, that's what's fun about these provincial championships, is that you're seeing different teams, and you have to figure out how to adjust. So, you know, Seaquam's proven that they had a great game plan ready for Yale, and obviously the game plan has been going their way. So we'll see if Yale can, again, reestablish some part of their identity to give them a little bit of confidence leading into tomorrow's third place game.
Yeah, that's going to be a good game too. And pardon me for taking off the headsets there. I've just done too many basketball games since I came here 8 days ago for the BC Junior Boys Tournament, which started on the mic every day, and my voice is threatening to give out on me here, so I'll thank you for filling for me, Coach,
All
while
good.
I was...
All good.
Some changes here now coming in for Seaquam. Extaraja, number 12, and Henderson, number 13, into the game. Callie Brost, do it there to knock it out of bounds.
Yeah, Yale's getting some of the looks that they need, you know, for the last 4.5 minutes. You know, 1 point kind of scored since the half, and so, you know, just that sense of desperation a little bit. It's not even desperation at this point. You know, there's some disappointment, obviously, in not stepping up and being ready for this moment. So, again, you're looking at some players maybe getting some minutes right now that haven't been on the floor as much as in a closer game. And again, coach always has to be the next play, trying to pull their athletes to the next play. And sometimes at a point like this, the next play is maybe tomorrow's game.
Yeah, exactly. Cameron Tate with a spin move follows the aborted shot, picks it up and lays it in. She continues to shine here, 55-17.
You asked before, you know, you go from feeling like you had a great upset game yesterday, the emotional highs of getting that game, to then coming into this space and feeling, you know, where is what we had yesterday? And again, a different opponent, different game. You have to readjust. You have to figure out what the battle is today. And you know, whereas yesterday maybe shots were dropping and today they're not. You know, it's tough. This is where the mental resolve of athletes, and we're asking that of, you know, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. But these are great lessons for young athletes to learn. It's not always going to go your way. Life is actually not fair, you know, and sometimes the shots just are not dropping. Sometimes the calls aren't going your way. But then what's your controllables at that point? And you know what? Like we think about university sport, you know, but high school sport, it's such a relevant space for these kids to be learning some of these life lessons,
yeah,
right?
It's tremendous. Still a lot of time left in this game. Boy, we're not even through the third quarter, and Seaquam with a 40-point lead. I can tell you, not many people were expecting, obviously, a result like this tonight. Many people thinking Yale would continue on the high from yesterday, the people I had talked to, and an equal amount thought, yeah, Seaquam getting back to their December form or their confidence level that they were playing with then, and when all the pieces are working together, they can be awfully dangerous. And it's gone Seaquam's way, and here's Brost. Syra again. She's on the mark. Syra Tour knocks down the huge triple there.
If you look at Seaquam right now, like the ability to establish all of the parts of the game that you're going to need heading into a final tomorrow. So, you know, you want to be razor sharp. You want to be ready to go. You want all facets of your game to be, because that's what you're going to need to be able to compete against Riverside in the final. So it's great to see them execute right now, getting some great scoring looks. You know, you're getting to the rim with Cami Tate. You're getting that corner three from Syra. Like, your team is humming right now, and this is the momentum that we talk about going into tomorrow's game with something. And, you know, for Yale, the momentum is not in today's game, but they need to build something going into tomorrow as well.
We're going to have fun calling that game. We will also call the plans to call the 2A game together, and we will definitely be calling the 3A. So hope you can join us on the live stream if you can't make it down here to the Langley Event Center. Always best live and in person, but we're glad to be the voice for you watching as you live stream on TFSA TV. Here's Henderson again for three. Seaquam with the basketball gifts from the gods tonight, just raining it all down.
And we said, you know, she was able to hit some big shots a few months ago, and you know, I think that might be the first one that we've seen for her today. But again, her getting that feel in today's game is going to be great for them going into tomorrow. How many weapons do we have in our stock as we go into tomorrow's battle? And so you think about Seaquam right now, just kind of building up that establishment. They've established their inside game with Sydney. They established their inside game with Neelam. You know, their outside scoring looks with Syra. Their ability to change directions, the little floater with Callie, like all of these weapons now combined, and how are they going to respond once they get into the big game tomorrow?
Yeah, and it's really neat to get that perspective, because there's superpowers on other teams that can just render the whole thing, you know, inept. I don't know how you kind of describe how that can happen from a mental perspective. So what will their headspace be?
I mean, you talk about right now, like the one thing that Yale has not taken away from them is their rhythm, right? And that's one thing that Riverside does really well against other teams. They throw your rhythm off. That's why they show that full court press, why they drop back into a zone. So Seaquam right now, they've been rolling. They've had the momentum this entire game. What happens when that's disrupted? And that's going to be the challenge that they face going against Riverside tomorrow.
That will be an exciting one. And right now, the Seahawks, no signs of slowing down here as Bross is going to lay it up. And they're getting easy buckets. And their fans are absolutely delirious right now. We will take a short break here. 1:34 left in the third quarter. Quick timeout. We'll be back with more in a moment. And we're back here with 1:29 left in the third quarter. Ella Bond with a touch there. Bodies crashing to the floor. Roufosse takes a hard fall, as does Kumar underneath. Interesting that when Yale, I just remembered, Yale actually won the top 10 at GW Graham. Riverside wasn't there this year, but that would have been probably their kind of peak in their season. And that was in early January or mid-January. So,
well, you know, there's the ebbs and flows of that second half of the high school season after Christmas break, depending on how many games you got over the Christmas holidays versus was that your first tournament back in. You know, and let's remember that was some insane weather that weekend as well.
Goodness.
So, you know, did it take teams 2 hours to get to Chilliwack to play a basketball game? I'm not sure, but I think sometimes for high schools, we want to look at the historical context, and sometimes it's just about what's happening today.
They had a bad day at school. Asia Kumar, we should say, of note at the other end, did score a bucket there. And then put up another shot here over the goal by Ella Bond. As we get down to about 39 seconds, Seaquam students having fun here at the LEC. Here's Priya Tour. Henderson for three. My goodness, if they shoot like this tomorrow.
Well, sometimes you want to hope that they've saved a few shots for tomorrow's game. Maybe now it's like, whoa, just wait. Let's make sure we still have some of this firepower left for tomorrow's game. But you know what? Right now it's just about building up that confidence. We've earned the right. Look at what we did in the semifinals. We're ready for anything in the finals. And you know, to Seaquam's credit, they haven't even really been running up the score per se. They're just taking advantage of every missed opportunity and mistake that Yale's taking some really early shots in the shot clock. So thanks, you just gave us 2 possessions in one. So, you know, they're finding ways to make a really big statement. And for a team that felt that, you know, yes, we've lost this team. Everyone's been talking about Riverside. Well, this is maybe a statement that they needed to make, even for just themselves going into a final.
Yeah, exactly. And that last bucket made it a 50-point game. I mean, I don't even want to say the score because I know what a great program Molly Braids runs. Some nights it's just not your night, and clearly this is one of them for Yale basketball.
Well, you know, the defensive plan has worked for Seaquam. I think that they've done a great job of funneling into their length, and their length has stood tall. So, you know, whereas yesterday, you know, there were 6, 7 players that fouled out of the game. There were so many free throws. It seems like Yale is searching for that again. And you know what? It's a different reffing crew. It's a different game. It's a different opponent. Like it said, you can't recreate what happened yesterday. You have to be in today's game. And, you know, today's game has just been a really tough one for them.
Teams both back out onto the floor here for the final quarter of our Final Four Friday. Syra Tour. That's a nice basket there by Iria Zaraga. The way she was moving in the paint there, I almost thought that was Cameron Tate for a second.
Learned a few moves.
There's Iria again as she brings the ball up the floor, coming off the bench and pretty productive in the few minutes that she has played. There's a three from some fresh troops, and Ika Das takes the 3 ball.
But again, it's that type of opportunity right now for a few players that maybe didn't get into closer games. It's like, hey, if we need you to tomorrow, you're ready to go. And again, they're taking shots with confidence, whether it's an air ball or not. You know, and really establishing the fact that who knows what's going to happen tomorrow, right? So just great opportunity for them to get some of their key players a little bit of rest going into tomorrow's game, which is pretty critical if you don't have to have them on the floor for the last 7-8 minutes of this game.
And of course, the announcement made, I don't know how official it's been made, but I mean, it is official that the BC Girls Championship game in 2025 will be played in Arena Bowl for all the tiers that day.
You know, there's some great things happening, obviously, this year with the addition of the 1A girls into this tournament, and, you know, future with the juniors potentially rejoining this tournament. But I think it's such a great for women's basketball, for single, double, AAA. Like, this is a celebration of girls and women's basketball, and you know, you have athletes that are playing in smaller schools that, you know, they've always done a great job with their tournament, but this is also a way for them to see what everyone else is doing as well.
And a great job there, as you were talking about players getting opportunities. Maya McKenzie, the 10th grader, coming off the bench and knocking down the 3 there. Chased and saved by Carnahan. Still some feeling here in the game as Neelam Sidhu takes a tumble there as she fights for a loose ball with Hannah Singh.
You know, one of the things that we talk about from a university perspective is to have the single A's with the double and triple and quad A tournaments in the same building. It also gives athletes a chance to be seen by university. You know, so instead of trying to divide your time between a tournament that's a little bit too far to travel to on the same weekend as this one, now it's great that you can just walk to the other gym and see some, you know, and we've seen some teams from up north and some smaller schools from the island, and it's such a great opportunity for those athletes to see the level of play that other schools are at, because oftentimes when you think about, I made this joke earlier, up north to me is Prince George. I know I'm offending everybody who lives up north by saying that. So all of a sudden you have these teams that are in this tournament and they're seeing what the 4A schools look like, because they've probably, you know, they'll never compete against those teams, but just to see what the level of play is like, that can be inspiring for a small school that's come here for a really great tournament.
It's neat to see. I did a story this week on Maddie Anderson from Fernie, who left to go to, where was that? And she's playing with the girl on the Canadian under 17
Katie
team.
Anderson.
Katie Anderson, yeah.
And Delaney, she's playing with Delaney.
Yes. And apparently it's quite a backcourt, but I was just thinking, you know, boy, I went into that gym, coach, just to see her play, because I remember her from last year as being such a terrific player, and she had already left the school. They weren't begrudging her, the coach said, because they just couldn't get her the competition she wanted on a regular basis. But
well, now she's playing for Raymond, and again, like a school that's committed to traveling. They were in BC for a tournament. They were in Saskatchewan recently for another tournament. You know, they're getting their athletes exposure to games everywhere, right? So what a great opportunity for her, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. And great to see, though, all those teams from the more remote regions of our province, even though, you know, we've largely seen them the last decade at 2A, you know, in the gym there, and now the girls with the 1A coming here. It's just great to see the dedication of those coaches as well. And it is indeed a celebration. Yale down the floor, and they're going to score a basket here. That was Kumar who scored the basket, Aisha Kumar. Also on the floor for Seaquam, making her first appearance, is Reina Amerkill, number 7, as well as number 22, Sukman Brar.
You know, you look at certain athletes that have probably spent a lot of their time not on the floor, especially in close games, and you know, this makes their contribution in tomorrow's game that much richer. And again, we talk about the value of high school sport. You know, you need 10, you need 11, you need 12 to be able to do what you do, and you know, this is a great opportunity for some of those players to get some meaningful minutes in a provincial championship.
I've had fun watching a certain amount of girls teams that I like to go watch because I just love their heart, and one of them I got to watch, this is kind of off the top, but Abbotsford Traditional. I don't know if you've watched them play. They have 7 players, and one, Saran, I think her name is just a very, very good player, and I enjoyed watching them whenever I get a chance. Here they come, Yale, right to the basket to lay it up and in. That is...
You know, it's always
Carnahan.
interesting some of the different challenges that different size schools have. And obviously, you're talking about right now we're watching the biggest high schools in the province.
Yeah.
And, you have an opportunity to see teams that probably have maybe a few more girls playing basketball than the ones that are representing their school teams. So it's really, I think it's great for the basketball community to see all the different layers of what makes it a great basketball community. You have really small schools, single A, all the way up to really big schools, and obviously the contribution of the fans for the bigger schools where they have more student athletes that are able to come, but then also having 2 lower mainland schools have been battling in different tournaments. So it's just what makes this a lot of fun. And I'm sure, all the other provinces are going to be getting into their provincial championships as well, and so it is that sense of seeing a lot of the same athletes that you've been following all spring and all summer, and now they're all here. So
yeah, it's fun. Just four straight days, and it is just, there's so much stuff you want to see that you can't see, and that's why I absolutely love the Constellation round and just sitting there taking pictures. And
well, it's also great. I mean, the Langley Event Center does such a great job of the performance piece of this in terms of being able to watch a great production, and obviously it's an honor for us for me to be a part of this phase of it as well in the semifinals and the finals. But for those of you that were not able to join us in the gym, to be able to watch great games online and again follow teams, go back to the archives, catch the game that you missed yesterday. If you want to catch that Argyle-Yale game again, I would maybe recommend it, so that maybe this is not the last taste in your mouth of Yale basketball. But that's also the challenge, right? Like, it's some days it's just going to be your night, and other days you're going to have to learn how to battle through. And to Yale's credit, they're still battling, and that says a lot about who they are, and they recognize tonight wasn't their night, but they're still fighting.
so Yale will play for third place. That game is right before the 1A final. I should have all the times in front of me, but I don't. And they're going to play Okanagan Mission tomorrow for third and fourth place. Just past the midway mark of this fourth and final quarter. This one has been decided for a while. As Coach says, a number of ways you can look at what Seaquam is all about as a basketball team, and one of them surely is that they're ready for tomorrow. And I think if you love the entertainment value and the drama that this great sport gives us for the Senior Girls Championship each and every year, if Seaquam plays to their best and Riverside to their best, I think we're in for a real treat tomorrow.
Well, and again, we're going to see whether it's a continuation of, or maybe Seaquam's the team that's going to have to figure out how to battle through things tomorrow. And so, we just don't know until we get to that point in the game what kind of resilience that they're going to have to demonstrate to go up against Riverside. And you know what? Riverside has a lot of different things that they do defensively, offensively. Seaquam, let's get this one done, then let's focus on the next. And with these tournaments, you can't spend a ton of time sitting in the game that you just played. You have to move on to the next pretty quickly and be ready for your next opponent.
Yeah, and that's like a true coach spoken. I mean, that is like just being in the present moment. And really, if I'm coming off of a loss and I hear that, I'm feeling refreshed. Like you have no choice but to just stay and move on to the next thing. So great advice. With 4 minutes left here, and Yale certainly not the evening they anticipated. And I mentioned about North Delta. North Delta, you can run through the high schools now in North Delta, and you can come up with pretty much for certain. Seaquam has not played in the senior varsity final for girls before. Neither have Delview, Sands, or Burnsview. And as a North Delta resident, I know these schools, and North Delta is my alma mater, and I know the Huskies have won it. I know they've been probably in 3 finals maybe, but so it's been the last time they've been in it, and they have not been in it since the I'm positive since the 80s.
Well, you know, we've also seen that addition of the 4A has changed the dynamic of teams being able to get to provincials for the first time. And,
Yeah.
you know, every year we're going to be seeing schools that have never been here before. You know, now, okay, last year was the first time we've ever made provincials, and now we have a little bit more experience. So there's so many different things that are coming out of this tournament, and coaches at the AA and AAA level saying, you know, I'm seeing names of schools that I've never heard of before. And that's great. And that's great because now we're seeing basketball players that maybe we've never seen before. So it adds, you know, a collection of opportunities for young athletes to be seen by university coaches and by the basketball community. And, you know, that's a great way to keep growing your game.
Well, this school, Seaquam, opened in 1977-78 because I started my high school career in the 8th grade, 76-77 at Sand Secondary in North Delta when it was 2 years old. The very next year, Seaquam opened, and half of Sands went to Seaquam because they were from Sunshine Hills, and it was the only school in the area. They had some success. I think they went to a Fraser Valley final. They had some players play for Allison McNeil at Simon Fraser during those NAIA days. But as far as getting to a provincial final for a North Delta senior varsity girls team, I'm betting it's 45 to 50 years since it's happened. So for those in North Delta, in that area, good to see some progress from Seaquam here.
You know, and for myself, being based in Langley, been fairly spoiled with Brookswood
and Walnut Grove.
And, you know, obviously not that far from Riverside and some of the other schools that have been dominant over the last several years.
Yeah, bit of a hotbed in this area. With Grove and Brookswood for sure. Down to 2:18 remaining. And there's a steal by the Seahawks.
Yeah, one of the comments that was made the other day watching a team play is, I didn't know St. Pat's had girls at their school. You know, just little comments like that. Where,
exactly, yeah.
You know, some established boys programs in the province, and now, you know, their girls teams are being and getting to an opportunity to get to a provincial level.
Yeah, and their girls team had one of the bigger upsets. I think they were an 11 seed, and I think they won their first game, so good for them. Sidhu will come out from the starting lineup here with 1:44 remaining. Some of the bench players have been on long enough that they actually want to take a break. That's how long they've been out there.
Yeah, I saw her signal for a sub. I'm like, are you sure?
I can never get this chance again.
Well, coach, I'm tired.
No, great to see everybody get a chance to play here for both of these teams. Not what Yale wanted, but Bobby Brake so dedicated to this team. Bobby phoned me when he took the job, and he said, you know what, I'm going to be coaching the Yale girls. It's a 4-year thing, he said to me. I can't remember how long ago that was now. And of course, next year, BC girls basketball will celebrate their 75th anniversary for their championship, so a lot of stuff planned, and I think that move to Arena Bowl is going to be well timed.
Well, you know, you look at Yale, and trying to get out of Abbotsford over the last several years has been a hard enough challenge. You have Abby Senior that's been, you know, a dominant force in that space, and, you know, some really great athletes that have been able to carry their teams, and so, you know, for them to be able to represent the Fraser Valley, I mean, some of the other regions don't have as hard of a time to get here as some of the other schools. So, you know, the amount of work that it gets to get to provincials, you know, sometimes when we lose these kind of games, we lose focus on the fact that we did a lot of good things to get to this point.
No, I completely agree. And you feel for the Yale girls that that although ending the championship quest, that it ends in this kind of a game, but they'll bounce back tomorrow. Down to 30 seconds remaining. Thanks for joining us on the live stream today. As I said, we'll have play-by-play for all 4 championship games tomorrow right here on TFSCTV.ca. 19 and a half to go. Ava Hepner back into the game. 3 ball there hoisted by Lily Gronberg. Lily's got a big smile on her face as this game ends. 80-1 to 40, and that's what it looks like when you qualify for the BC Championship final for the first time in school history, the senior varsity championship. That is, of course, they won the grade A champion, or the junior championship rather, and now on cue to try and win the big one tomorrow. We are going to have a great game, Coach, and thank you so much for being with us. I can't wait to call the game tomorrow.
You're welcome, and I think it just goes to show you these are great programs when these athletes are coming in and doing some great things from the grade 8 level all the way through. So this is great. This is great basketball, and we're looking forward to some great matchups tomorrow. We
look forward to seeing you then. Howard Samura for our analyst, Cheryl Jean-Paul, and everybody here at the Langley Event Center, our our great crew here. Thanks for getting us on the air. We appreciate everything. We'll be back with you again tomorrow.
Stand up. Look, I don't celebrate. Everyone scream next up, but I'm the #1 candidate. Captain's armband, I'm making key plays. When I'm doing shows, gotta get it all prepaid. 42 flavors, I'm on a tea break. No side, know about these ways. I gotta let my skin fade marinate. We gotta toast up, celebrate. Everyone scream next up.